So, the second stage of the awakening is where things start to get a bit tricky and kind of where we initially all have our prior first awakening. This is where sometimes we can sort of dive off in different paths. So, a lot of times you're still slightly unconscious. You've just started to stir awake from that deep sleep, but still life is a bit blurry. What's true, what's not true is a little bit still distorted. And the distortion aspect of that is where it can sort of veer us off and take us into a direction that the awakening is truly not meant or intended to do. And that is where a lot of people get stuck. They're stuck on still what is happening outside of them. Whereas the awakening, a true awakening, is an awakening of consciousness from within. And that means that everything that we need in order to heal ourselves is not outside of us, it's within. Now, a lot of times, what's happening outside of us can be a trigger to wanting to heal what's inside of us. Let me explain. For myself, that is what happened. I started off recognizing that I wanted something much deeper out of life. I wanted to be closer to a higher source. I wanted to heal. And then in 2020, I got pulled out of that, like a lot of people did, because I was looking at what was happening globally outside of me. And I had watched something, a documentary that I'm sure a lot of people have. I don't even remember what the name is. It won't come to me right now. And I was blown away by the idea that I had lived my entire life from a perspective of thinking that everything was real. And now the reality of that was completely shaken up. And so what happened to me was I got pulled off that path of seeking a higher source and found myself immersed in the more outside source of things. I'm going to use conspiracy theories if you want to. I'm not saying that a lot of what I wasn't listening to or hearing wasn't true. But the problem with that was it wasn't enough for me. I was never satisfied. I wanted more. Nothing ever got solved. Nobody ever found out what the truth was. It kind of always got put on the back burner or faded out. And then we were on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And it was having such an incredibly profound impact on my life and my family life that I'd recognized I didn't even know who I was anymore. I'd gotten pulled off of what I know I was intended to be, which is to find the peace and the calm within the storm by going within, by finding the source of peace from within. And instead, what I was looking at was some miraculous figure outside of me to come in and swoop up and, put all the bad guys where they belonged. And I was always angry. My family was falling apart in many ways because it was really having a toll on separating us. And finally, I just couldn't do it anymore. This wasn't who I wanted to be. This wasn't a part of what I was trying to embrace, which I knew I needed to, which was healing myself. And that ultimately led into another relationship of mine falling apart because I went on a different path. And that path was the path that I wanted to fully embrace, which was being conscious, awakening, fully awakening, not to what was going on outside of me, but what was going on within me. How could I possibly ever think about helping what's going on outside of me when there is so much unhealed parts of myself that contributed to a lot of what was going on outside? It all starts from within. And this is where people get caught up. we seem to think that because we're awake and we see all the things that have been disrupting the peace and calm in this world, we get caught up there. But what we should be doing is taking the opportunity to ask ourselves, how did I contribute to this? Because on a collective global level, we all have. And in order for us to find solutions, in order for us to even think about entering a time where there is peace and calm, it requires us to take full responsibility of that by healing those parts of ourselves. If we don't heal those parts of ourselves, then it's just going to continue. And that was really where we're at as a humanity, a pivotal aspect of life. We faced a global extinction if we didn't smarten up and recognize that we all have a responsibility. Your responsibility isn't to partake in talking about all of the horrible things that are continuing to happen, whether that's the rise in, the economy and prices, and all we're doing at that point is still contributing to what it is that's happening out there in the world, because we're adding and heaping more energy and more negativity on it by continuing to keep it alive. We already know it's taking place. So what can we do? What is our part in seeing this world come to a different place? It all starts with us. It all starts with where it is that we want to be, what part we want to take, or place we want to take a part in, and how that's all going to unfold within our lives. And that doesn't mean that we're walking around being fake positive, because that's never going to work either. It means that we're taking responsibility by looking within ourselves and recognizing that there are parts of us, unconsciously parts of us, that we have attached to for most of our lives, that have had a profound effect on what it is that we have been able to manifest within our world. Never mind just our life. I mean, there were parts of me that I've recognized myself that if I hadn't healed, if I hadn't really been truthfully open and honest with myself, I would have told you there's no way I was responsible for that. If each and every individual took the time to look at their lives from that perspective, imagine how different this world would be. Instead of blaming someone else outside of us, we actually went in and was like, what's my part here? What do I need to do? How does that look for me? It's not just about being a better person. Anybody can just be a better person by doing better things. It's goes much deeper than that. It's a reconnection of who it is that you actually really are, that's been covered over by the false identity of what it is that you've walked around with your entire life. That's how we get to that point of creating a new earth, a new humanity, a new way of living. So the awakening is an important process, but where that awakening takes you is going to be different depending on what it is that you recognize needs to change. Is it out there or is it in here? Because if it's in here, it will eventually change what's out there, but we all have to take responsibility. Much love and light.